Overthinking is killing your potential. Your mind never stops, but your life has. Thoughts stack on thoughts, plans on plans, and somewhere between hesitation and perfection, momentum disappears. You feel it, the quiet exhaustion of thinking everything through, the inner noise that never rests, the pause before action that lasts too long. This isn't weakness, this is pressure with no release. Overthinking doesn't scream. It whispers, wait, be sure, later. And while it whispers, time moves on without you. Breathe. Feel the calm for a moment. Now feel the tension rising. Because deep down you know this truth. You were built for movement. You were meant to decide. You were never designed to stay stuck in your own head. Overthinking has been stealing your power, your confidence, your leadership. And it ends now. This is the moment everything changes for you. Stand up internally. Focus. Listen closely. I am ready. Say it again. I am ready. You don't wait anymore. You rise. Chapter 1. The silent enemy in your mind. There is an enemy you face every single day. It doesn't shout. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't attack head-on. It waits. It waits in the pause before action. It waits in the moment you almost decide. It waits in the space between instinct and execution. And because it's quiet, because it sounds reasonable, because it feels familiar, you rarely call it what it is. Overthinking. Not dramatic, not explosive, but devastating over time. It shows up disguised as caution, as preparation, as being smart. It tells you, think a little more. Don't rush. Make sure. And while you think, life keeps moving. Notice this carefully. Overthinking doesn't feel dangerous in the moment. That's why it works. It drains you slowly, silently, day by day. You don't collapse. You stall. And stalling costs more than failure ever could. Pause for a second. How many ideas have lived in your head longer than they should have? How many decisions have been delayed because you wanted certainty? How many moments passed because you were almost ready? This isn't about regret. There is no blame here. This is about awareness, because awareness is power, and you cannot defeat what you refuse to name. Overthinking is not who you are. It is something happening to you, and that distinction changes everything. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who hears them. Let that land. Thoughts come and go. They repeat. They exaggerate. They predict outcomes that never arrive. But you are the observer. This is where power begins. Most people never separate themselves from their inner noise. They believe every thought deserves attention. Every doubt deserves analysis. Every fear deserves a meeting. That's how instinct gets buried, because instinct is quiet too. But it's clean, direct, vast. Overthinking is loud in a subtle way. It multiplies options, creates loops, replays the same scenario from 10 angles. Instinct says go. Overthinking says what if. Instinct moves forward. Overthinking circles, and circles feel safe until you realize you haven't gone anywhere. Look at the pattern. You feel a pull towards something, a decision, a change, an action. Your body leans forward. Then the mind steps in. What if it doesn't work? What if you choose wrong? What if this costs you something? And suddenly, courage is replaced with calculation. This is the moment most people lose momentum. Not because they're incapable, not because they're unworthy, but because they were never taught how to recognize the enemy. So listen closely. Overthinking is not intelligent. It is fear wearing logic as a mask. And fear survives on delay. The longer you wait, the stronger it feels. The more you analyze, the heavier it gets. This is why awareness matters so much. When you can say, this is overthinking, you create distance. You stop drowning in the thought and start observing it. Notice it. Say it internally. I see what's happening. That alone weakens its grip, because now you're no longer trapped inside the loop. You're standing above it. And from that position, you can interrupt it. Interrupting doesn't mean arguing with your thoughts. It doesn't mean forcing positivity. It doesn't mean pretending fear isn't there. It means refusing to give every thought authority. Some thoughts don't need answers. They need silence. Some questions don't need resolution. They need action. You don't think your way into confidence. You move your way into it. Confidence is not a thought. It's a result. And here's something crucial you need to hear. Your old self relies on overthinking. Your old self waits for perfect clarity. Your old self mistakes hesitation for wisdom. But you are not here to remain your old self. There is a version of you forming right now. A version that notices the noise and moves anyway. That version doesn't eliminate fear. They lead through it. They don't wait for certainty. They choose direction. This is where identity begins to shift. You are not becoming reckless. You are becoming decisive. You are not ignoring reality. You are choosing clarity over chaos. Clarity is not knowing everything. Clarity is knowing enough to move. Say this to yourself slowly. I am not my thoughts. Again, I am not my thoughts. Feel the space that creates. In that space, instinct can speak again. In that space, momentum returns. Overthinking thrives in isolation and noise. Clarity thrives in presence. So bring yourself back. Right here, right now. Notice the thought patterns you've been entertaining. Notice how familiar they feel. Notice how tired they've made you. And then choose something different. Choose awareness. Choose interruption. Choose clarity. This is not about changing everything today. It's about catching the moment before you stall. The moment when the mind starts spinning. That's your cue. Notice it. Interrupt it. Choose clarity. This is leadership over yourself first. And leadership always starts internally, before the world sees it, before results show up, before confidence becomes visible. It begins with one decision. Not to think more, but to move with intention. You don't need permission. You don't need certainty. You don't need the noise to stop. You need to decide who you are becoming. Say it now, out loud or inside. I decide who I become. Again, I decide who I become. This is the first shift. Quiet, powerful, irreversible. And from here, everything starts to move. Chapter 2. How overthinking steals time and energy. There is a cost you've been paying, quietly, daily, often without noticing. It's not money. It's not effort. It's not even failure. It's time and energy. Overthinking doesn't take them all at once. It leaks them, a little here, a little there, until one day you wake up tired, without having done much at all. That's the danger. Overthinking convinces you that nothing is happening, but something is happening. You're being drained. Every undecided moment pulls from the same limited source, your mental energy. And once that energy is gone, everything feels heavier. Decisions feel harder. Action feels distant. Confidence feels optional. This is how overthinking steals momentum without resistance. Let's name it clearly. When you replay the same thought again and again, when you mentally rehearse conversations that haven't happened, when you weigh outcomes that don't need weighing anymore, you're spending energy. And energy spent without movement never comes back stronger. It just disappears. This is energy leakage. You feel it as fatigue, as lack of presence, as that dull pressure behind your eyes. You sit still, but inside you're running. That's exhausting. And here's the truth most people never confront. You don't get tired from doing too much. You get tired from thinking too much about doing. Action uses energy, but it also creates energy. Indecision only drains it. That's why days filled with hesitation feel heavier than days filled with effort. Look at your own experience. Have you noticed how one clear decision can instantly lift weight off your chest? How choosing, even imperfectly, creates relief. That relief isn't coincidence. It's biology. It's psychology. Your system is built for movement, not stagnation. Unmade decisions sit in your mind like open tabs, each one quietly pulling focus, pulling attention, pulling energy. One decision feels manageable, 10 feel overwhelming, 50 feel paralyzing. This is the weight of unmade decision. They don't scream, they hum. Constantly, you feel them when you try to rest but can't, when silence feels noisy, when even simple tasks feel heavy. It's not laziness, it's overload, mental clutter. And over time, that clutter does something dangerous. It erodes confidence, because confidence comes from follow-through, from seeing yourself decide and act, from proof. When decisions remain unmade, proof disappears. You start questioning yourself, your instincts, your ability to choose well, not because you're incapable, but because you've been training indecision. Every time you delay a choice, you already understand. You reinforce the habit of hesitation, and habits shape identity. Read this slowly. Indecision is a decision. You are always choosing something. If you don't choose action, you choose delay. If you don't choose direction, you choose stagnation. If you don't choose intentionally, life chooses for you. And life is never careful with wasted time. This is where urgency must enter without blame. Because urgency doesn't mean panic. It means respect. Respect for your energy. Respect for your future. Overthinking steals presence. When your mind is trapped in replay, you're not here. You're not fully listening, not fully seeing, not fully engaging. You miss cues, opportunities, moments that require response, not reflection. Leadership demands presence. So does growth. You can't lead from inside your head. You lead from the moment. And here's something powerful to understand. Most opportunities don't announce themselves loudly. They show up briefly, quietly, and move on. Overthinking waits too long. It says later, when I'm ready, when it's clearer. But clarity often comes after movement, not before. This is the cost no one teaches you. By the time you feel ready, the moment has passed. Not because you were unworthy, but because you were undecided. Let's shift the frame. Decisive people aren't always right, but they're rarely stuck. And being wrong with momentum teaches faster than being right in theory. This is where delayed gratification matters. Overthinking chases comfort now. Action earns comfort later. Overthinking avoids discomfort in the moment and pays for it long-term. Action accepts discomfort now and builds freedom later. That's the trade. You can feel uncomfortable deciding or uncomfortable staying the same, but only one path builds strength. Only one path returns energy instead of draining it. So let's interrupt the pattern. Right now, notice where your mind replays the same decision, the same scenario, the same internal debate. That's your signal. Say it internally. Stop replaying. Again, stop replaying. Replaying is not preparation anymore. It's avoidance. Then comes the next step. Decide once, not forever, not for life, just once. You don't need to solve the entire future. You need to choose the next move. Decide once and move. Movement breaks mental noise. Movement creates feedback. Feedback creates clarity. This is how energy returns. Imagine this. Imagine waking up without mental clutter. No open loops pulling at you. No decisions haunting the edges of your thoughts. Imagine your mind feeling lighter, sharper, quieter, not because life is easy, but because you decide quickly. You trust yourself enough to move. You don't second-guess every step. You adjust while moving. That version of you isn't rushed. They're calm, because calm doesn't come from having no pressure. It comes from not carrying unnecessary weight. Unmade decisions are unnecessary weight, and you are strong enough to put them down. So here's the shift. When a decision has enough information, choose. When a thought repeats without adding value, interrupt. When hesitation shows up disguised as caution, see it clearly, then act. Say the commands with intention. Stop replaying. Decide once. Move. Again. Stop replaying. Decide once. Move. This is not recklessness. This is respect for your energy. This is how you reclaim time, not by adding more hours, but by removing mental drag. This is how confidence returns, not by thinking stronger thoughts, but by becoming someone who follows through. Your future doesn't need perfection. It needs momentum, and momentum starts the moment you decide. That delay is no longer free. You are not behind. You are not late. You are simply done wasting energy on hesitation. Feel that shift. Lighter, clearer, present. From here on, you don't carry every thought. You choose which ones matter. And that choice changes everything. Chapter 3. The Illusion of Control. Overthinking wears a convincing disguise. It calls itself intelligent. It calls itself preparation. It calls itself control. And because it sounds responsible, you trust it. But here's the truth you need to face, calmly, clearly, without judgment. Overthinking does not give you control. It gives you the illusion of it. Control feels good to the mind. It promises safety, predictability, certainty. But life doesn't operate on guarantees. And the longer you wait for certainty, the more control you actually lose. Notice this pattern. When you overthink, you're not taking charge. You're postponing responsibility. You're saying, I'll decide later, when I know more, when the risk disappears. But the risk never disappears. Life keeps moving. Conditions change. Windows close. And suddenly, the control you thought you had is gone. This is the false safety of thinking too much. It feels like progress because you're busy. Your mind is active. You're working it out. But activity is not authority. True control doesn't come from understanding every variable. It comes from choosing direction and responding in real time. Look at real leaders. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't have full information. They don't eliminate uncertainty. They move anyway. Not recklessly, not blindly, decisively, because they understand something most people miss. Control is not the absence of chaos. Control is the ability to move within it. Overthinking tries to eliminate chaos before acting. Leadership acts and adapts. That's the difference. Imagine standing in front of a door. You can see the outline. You know there's something on the other side, but the door doesn't open automatically. You stand there, thinking, analyzing, imagining what's behind it. You tell yourself, once I'm sure I'll move, but the door never opens until you push. No amount of thinking opens it. No amount of preparation swings it wide. Only action does. That's how control works. It's not granted in advance. It's earned through movement. Overthinking keeps your hand off the door. Instinct reaches for it. And instinct doesn't mean impulse. It means internal alignment. Your inner compass. That quiet sense of direction you feel before your mind starts arguing. You've felt it before. That pull. That knowing. That internal yes or no. Then the mind rushes in with questions. What if? What about? What happens next? And the compass gets drowned out. But it never disappears. It waits. Leaders learn to trust that signal, not because it's always right, but because it's honest. It reflects who they are and what they value now. Overthinking delays that trust. It sends the message, I don't believe in myself yet. And self-trust weakens when it's postponed. Here's a shift you need to make. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move without certainty. Certainty is a luxury. Courage is a choice, and every meaningful path requires courage first. Overthinking asks for proof before action. Leadership creates proof through action. This is where control flips. When you act even imperfectly, you gain feedback. Feedback gives you information. Information gives you adjustment. That's real control. You're no longer frozen, waiting for the perfect move. You're engaged, responsive, alive. Now consider this metaphor. A storm doesn't pass because you stand still and study it. It passes because you move through it. If you stay frozen, the storm batters you. If you move, you find the edge. Overthinking keeps you standing in the rain. Action moves you forward, and forward motion reveals paths you couldn't see before. That's why analysis alone never brings relief. Relief comes after movement, because movement shifts your relationship with uncertainty. You stop trying to dominate the future. You start navigating it. This is the mindset of leaders. They don't ask, can I control everything? They ask, can I respond to anything? And the answer grows stronger with every decision made. Let's confront another myth. Being careful is not the same as being controlled. Care without courage becomes paralysis. And paralysis is the opposite of control. It's surrender, not dramatic surrender, quiet surrender, one delayed decision at a time. So reclaim control where it actually lives. In your actions, in your willingness to choose and adjust, in your ability to step forward before the path is fully visible. This doesn't mean ignoring wisdom. It means recognizing when thinking has crossed into avoidance. Here's how you know. If your thoughts repeat without creating clarity, if the same questions circle again and again, if you're waiting for a feeling of certainty that never arrives, you've left the realm of intelligence. You're in the illusion of control. That's your cue. Trust yourself. Say it internally. Trust yourself. Again, trust yourself. This is not blind faith. It's earned belief. You've survived uncertainty before. You've adapted. You've learned. You are capable of responding. So step forward. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, but deliberately. One step breaks the illusion. One decision restores authority. Step forward, and when you do, something shifts. You stop feeling at the mercy of circumstances. You start feeling engaged with them. That's leadership. Leadership is not knowing the outcome. It's committing to the process. It's standing at the door and pushing. It's moving through the storm instead of waiting it out. Say the commands with presence. Trust yourself. Step forward. Lead. Again, trust yourself. Step forward. Lead. This is how control returns, not as certainty, but as confidence in your ability to move. And that confidence compounds. With every step taken, with every adjustment made, with every decision honored, the illusion fades. And what replaces it is real power. Quiet, steady, unshakable. From here on, you don't wait for control. You create it, one action at a time. Chapter 4, The Fear Beneath the Thoughts. If you go quiet enough, if you listen beneath the noise, you'll find something living under every overthought. Not logic, not strategy. Fear, not loud fear, not panic, subtle fear. The kind that dresses itself as caution. The kind that hides behind reason. The kind that says, I'm just being realistic. But realism is what stops you. Fear does. This is not an accusation. This is clarity, because once you see fear clearly, it loses its power to run your life. Let's speak honestly now. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of regret. These aren't flaws. They are human. You don't eliminate fear by pretending you don't feel it. You eliminate its control by understanding it. Overthinking is the mind's attempt to protect you from fear. It says, if we think long enough, we won't get hurt. If we analyze every angle, we can avoid pain. But that protection comes at a cost. It keeps you safe. And small, fear doesn't want growth. It wants predictability. And predictability feels comforting until you realize comfort is quietly suffocating you. Here's the truth most people never hear. Fear isn't the enemy. Avoidance is. Fear is a signal that something matters, a signal that there is meaning on the line, a signal that growth is nearby. If fear didn't show up, you wouldn't be stretching. You wouldn't be evolving. You wouldn't be standing at the edge of something important. So stop asking, why am I afraid? Ask instead, what is this fear pointing me toward? Fear of failure often means you care about doing well. Fear of judgment often means you value connection and impact. Fear of regret often means you know your time matters. These fears aren't weaknesses. They are indicators. But when fear is misunderstood, it becomes a stop sign. When fear is understood, it becomes a compass. This is where emotional honesty matters. You don't need to conquer fear. You need to stop lying to yourself about it. Say it internally. I'm afraid. No drama. No shame. Just truth. That sentence alone releases pressure. Because fear thrives in denial. It grows when it's hidden. But when you name it, when you bring it into the open, it shrinks. Now let's go deeper. Fear doesn't actually fear failure. It fears identity loss. It fears what failure might mean about you. That I'm not good enough. That I'm not capable. That I was wrong about myself. Fear of judgment isn't about others. It's about losing belonging. Fear of regret isn't about the past. It's about missing who you could become. These are emotional fears, not logical ones. You cannot outthink them. You must move through them. And here's the most important truth of this chapter. Fear fades when you move toward it. Not away from it. Not around it. Toward it. Avoidance teaches fear that it's powerful. Movement teaches fear that it's survivable. Every time you hesitate, fear grows louder. Every time you take a step, fear gets quieter. Not instantly, but consistently. This is why waiting for fear to disappear never works. Fear disappears after movement, not before. Think about it. Have you ever felt terrified before doing something and calmer once you started? That's not coincidence. That's design. Your nervous system settles when it senses engagement. Action tells your body, I can handle this. Overthinking tells your body, something is wrong. So let's reframe fear completely. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal that says, pay attention. Attention, not retreat. Attention asks, what matters here? What do I value? What would courage look like in this moment? Courage does not mean forcing yourself harshly. It means meeting yourself with honesty and compassion. This is where strength through self-compassion comes in. Harshness creates resistance. Compassion creates movement. You don't need to shame yourself into action. You need to support yourself through discomfort. Say this quietly inside. I'm allowed to be afraid and still act. I'm allowed to be afraid and still act. That sentence is powerful because it breaks the false rule that says you must feel confident before you move. Confidence is not a prerequisite. It's a byproduct. Fear does not disqualify you. It initiates you. Now let's talk about judgment. Most of the judgment you fear is imagined, not because people don't notice you, but because they're too busy thinking about themselves. Fear exaggerates eyes on you. Fear makes you feel exposed. But here's the grounding truth. Even if someone judges you, you survive it. You always have. Judgment has never ended you. Regret has hurt far more. And regret comes from not moving, from silence, from restraint, from letting fear choose for you. Fear says, what if this goes wrong? But it never asks, what if this goes right? It never asks, what if this changes everything? You must ask those questions, because courage lives there. Now sit with this image. You're standing at the edge of something meaningful. Your heart is tight. Your mind is loud. That's not danger. That's growth. Fear is present because you're crossing a threshold, and thresholds are uncomfortable by nature. You don't eliminate the discomfort. You walk through it, one step, then another, and with each step, fear loosens its grip. Your body learns a new truth. I can move and survive. I can choose and adjust. I can act and remain safe. Say the affirmation slowly. I am safe to act. Again, I am safe to act. Let it settle into your body, not just your mind. Safety does not mean zero risk. Safety means resilience. You have handled uncertainty before. You have adapted before. You have recovered before. You are stronger than the fear pretending to protect you. And here's the quiet confidence you're building now. Fear does not mean stop. Fear means this matters. When fear shows up, you don't retreat. You slow down just enough to choose intentionally. That's leadership. Leadership over yourself. You don't bully fear. You don't obey it. You acknowledge it and move anyway. This is the balance. Emotional honesty without surrender. Compassion without stagnation. Now imagine this future version of you. Not fearless, but grounded. Fear shows up, and you don't panic. You breathe. You notice it. You step forward. That version of you isn't reckless. They're steady because they understand something fundamental. Fear is temporary. Regret lingers. And action dissolves fear faster than thinking ever will. So when the next moment comes, and it will come, when your mind starts racing and your chest tightens, remember this chapter. Remember this truth. Fear fades when you move toward it. Say the affirmations with intention. I am safe to act. Again, I am safe to act. And now this one. I rise, not because fear is gone, but because you are bigger than it. You rise by choosing honesty. You rise by choosing movement. You rise by choosing yourself. This is not about becoming fearless. It's about becoming free. And freedom begins the moment you stop letting fear decide for you. Breathe. Feel the strength returning. Quiet, centered, alive. You are not trapped by fear. You are being invited to grow, and you are ready to answer. You rise. Chapter 5. Decision is a muscle. Decisiveness is not a personality trait. It is not something you're born with or without. It is not reserved for the confident, the bold, or the fearless. Decisiveness is a muscle, and like every muscle, it grows when you use it. It weakens when you avoid it. Most people don't struggle because they can't decide. They struggle because they've trained themselves not to. Every delay, every "I'll think about it," every moment of hesitation is a repetition in the wrong direction. But the opposite is also true. Every decision, even small, strengthens something inside you. This is where power actually begins. Not in massive life choices, not in dramatic moments, but in micro decisions, the ones that feel too small to matter. What you do when the alarm goes off, whether you speak up or stay quiet, whether you start now or later. These moments don't feel heroic, but they are shaping you, because identity is built through repetition. And the person who decides quickly becomes powerful, not because they're always right, but because they trust themselves enough to choose. Let's dismantle a dangerous belief. You've been taught that big decisions require long thinking, that speed equals carelessness, that hesitation equals wisdom. But that's only true when you lack clarity. Once clarity exists, delay becomes weakness. Most of the decisions you overthink don't need more information. They need commitment. You already know enough. You're just not used to honoring that knowing. This is why micro-decisions matter so much. They train self-trust. When you decide something small and follow through, your nervous system learns, I can rely on myself. When you decide and then hesitate, it learns the opposite. Confidence does. It comes from outcomes. It comes from consistency. Consistency in deciding. Consistency in moving. So let's redefine discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It's not rigidity. It's not forcing yourself harshly. Discipline is self-respect in action. It's saying, I honor my decisions. When you decide and stand firm, you're telling yourself, I matter. That message compounds. Indecision erodes self-respect quietly. Decision restores it immediately. Now listen closely. You don't need to make better decisions yet. You need to make decisions faster. Speed builds strength. Think of it like this. If you wait to lift heavy weight before training, you never get strong. You start with light reps. Micro-decisions are those reps. What to eat, when to stop scrolling, whether to start the task now. Each one is a chance to train. Decide now. Not perfectly, not forever. Now. And then this part matters. Stand firm. Second-guessing after deciding is the same as not deciding at all. You can adjust later, but don't mentally undo your choice in the moment. That's how decisiveness weakens. So when you decide, honor it, stand firm, and then move again. Momentum stacking is how this becomes unstoppable. One decision creates motion. Motion creates feedback. Feedback makes the next decision easier. This is momentum stacking. You don't wait for motivation. You build it. You don't wait for confidence. You create it. Each small win whispers, I follow through, and whispers become beliefs. Beliefs become identity. Now imagine two versions of you. One delays, revisits, reconsiders constantly. They feel tired before the day even starts. The other decides, acts, adjusts. They feel lighter, even under pressure. Same challenges, different relationship with choice. Power isn't about having no doubt. It's about not letting doubt stall you. Here's something critical to understand. Indecision is addictive. It gives temporary relief. No risk, no responsibility, but it costs you momentum. Decision is uncomfortable for a moment, then relieving. That relief is strength returning. That relief is clarity forming. That relief is energy coming back. So when you feel that internal resistance, that urge to wait, recognize it. That's the muscle being trained. That discomfort means growth. Say this internally. This is me getting stronger. Now let's bring this into practice. Start today with one intentional micro-decision. Something small but real. Decide when you'll start something and start. Decide when you'll stop something and stop. Decide what matters and act accordingly. No debate. Decide now. Say it. Decide now. Again. Decide now. Feel the firmness in that phrase. Then stand firm. Not rigid. Grounded. Stand firm. Say it. Stand firm. And once you've moved even a little, move again. Because momentum loves continuation. Move again. Say it. Move again. This is how leaders are built internally. They don't wait for certainty to appear. They create certainty through repetition. They don't ask, what if I'm wrong? They ask, what's my next move? And next moves add up. Over time, something shifts. Decisions feel lighter. Action feels natural. Confidence stops feeling forced. Not because life is easier, but because you are stronger. You trust yourself. That trust didn't arrive magically. You built it. Decision by decision. Moment by moment. This is the identity shift happening right now. You are becoming someone who chooses, someone who moves, someone who honors their word to themselves. And that person carries power quietly, not loud, not rushed, steady, because decisiveness isn't urgency. It's clarity in motion. You don't rush. You don't stall. You decide. And you move. Let this settle. You are not indecisive by nature. You are simply untrained. And training has started. From this moment forward, you don't wait to feel ready. You decide ready is a decision. Say it one last time with conviction. Decide now. Stand firm. Move again. This is no longer theory. This is how you live. And with every repetition, your power grows. Chapter 6. Action ends anxiety. Anxiety is not your enemy. It is a message, but most people misread it. They think anxiety means stop, slow down, think more, control more, and the anxiety grows. Because anxiety is not soothed by thinking. It is soothed by movement. Read that again. Anxiety does not end when you understand everything. It ends when you engage. This is where everything changes. Anxiety lives in stillness, in delay, in mental rehearsal without release. Your body was never designed to sit with unresolved tension. It was designed to act. So when the mind spins and the body stays frozen, your system goes into overload. That overload is what you call anxiety. Not weakness, not failure, misalignment, mind racing, body idle. Action realigns them. This is why motion creates clarity, not the other way around. You felt this before. Think about a moment when anxiety was high, heart racing, chest tight, thoughts loud. Then you moved, you stood up, you walked, you started the task, you made the call, and something shifted. The thoughts didn't magically disappear, but they lost authority because engagement grounds you in reality. Anxiety feeds on imagined futures. Action brings you back to now. This is the difference between anxiety and engagement. Anxiety asks, what if? Engagement asks, what's next? Anxiety multiplies possibilities. Engagement narrows focus, and focus calms the nervous system. Your body understands movement better than explanation. That's why you cannot talk yourself out of anxiety, but you can walk yourself out of it. Literally, this is body leading the mind. For too long, you've been taught the opposite, that the mind must be calm before action. That's backwards. The mind calms because of action. Movement signals safety. When you act, your body says, we're not trapped, we're responding, we're alive, and anxiety loosens its grip. This is not theory. This is physiology. Your nervous system settles when it senses agency. Agency is action. Let's be clear about something important. Anxiety is not solved by big dramatic moves. It's dissolved by simple engagement. One step, one task, one decision acted on. That's enough to break the loop. Overthinking keeps anxiety spinning. Action collapses the spiral. Imagine anxiety like fog. You don't clear fog by staring at it. You walk through it. With each step, visibility improves. Standing still makes it thicker. That's how anxiety works. Now consider this. When anxiety is high, people often say, I don't feel ready. But readiness is not a feeling. It's a response. You don't wait until you feel ready to move. You move and readiness follows. This is where courage actually lives. Not in calm moments, but in choosing motion while tension exists. You don't need to eliminate anxiety to act. You act with anxiety, and action carries you forward anyway. Say this internally. I don't wait for calm, I move. Again, I don't wait for calm, I move. This is how clarity forms. Clarity is not a thought. It's feedback. You act. You see what happens. You adjust. That loop is grounding. Anxiety hates feedback because feedback replaces imagination with reality. Reality is always more manageable than imagined catastrophe. Always. Now let's talk about the body. Your body is not just a vehicle for your mind. It's a source of intelligence. When you're anxious, your body wants to do something. Heart rate increases, energy available. Muscles tense, readiness. Breath shortens, alertness. That's not dysfunction. That's preparation. But when you ignore that preparation, when you stay frozen, the energy has nowhere to go. So it turns inward. That's anxiety. Action gives it direction. Even small physical movement helps. Standing up, straightening posture, walking with intention. These aren't tricks. They're signals. Signals that say, I'm engaged. And engagement changes chemistry. Now listen carefully. You don't need to solve your life today. You need to move 1 inch. That inch breaks the spell. Anxiety feels huge when you're still. It shrinks when you move. This is why action ends anxiety faster than thinking ever could. Thinking keeps you in the same place. Action changes your position, and position changes perspective. Now we enter a critical moment in this chapter. This is not about gentle reflection anymore. This is about activation, because you already know this truth. You've felt it. You've just forgotten to trust it. So we build now, line by line, breath by breath. No pause, no retreat. Transformation peak 1. Listen closely. Let the rhythm build. Move your body. Straighten your spine. Breathe deeper. Now, you don't wait. You act. No pause. No retreat. You don't analyze. You engage. No pause. No retreat. You don't freeze. You move. Step forward. Again. Again. Your feet know what to do. Your hands know what to do. Your body remembers strength. No pause. no retreat. Anxiety rises. Move. Doubt speaks. Move. Fear tightens your chest. Move. Action. 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 Momentum breaks noise. No pause. No retreat. You are not trapped. You are in motion. No pause. No retreat. Feel that. That shift is real. That is anxiety losing ground. Now we slow slightly, not to stop but to integrate. This is what leadership over anxiety looks like. Not domination. Direction. You don't fight anxiety. You redirect its energy. You give it a task. Here, S where we're going. And the body follows. This is why leaders act under pressure. They don't wait for anxiety to leave. They move with it. And movement turns pressure into presence. Presence is calm in action. Not calm before. Let's ground this further. When anxiety shows up next time, and it will, you don't ask, how do I stop this? You ask, what is the smallest action I can take right now? That question is powerful because it assumes agency. And agency dissolves helpless. Small actions matter. Opening the dock. Humant. Sending the message. Starting the first step. You don't finish the mountain. You take the step. And with every step, anxiety loses oxygen because anxiety needs stillness to survive. Now say this with conviction. I act. Again, I act. That sentence is not motivational. It's directive. It tells your system what comes next. Action does not mean recklessness. It means engagement. Engagement with reality. And reality is always workable. Now imagine a future version of you. Anxiety still shows up because you're human, but it doesn't control you. When it appears, you don't spiral. You move. You stand. You breathe. You act. That version of you feels grounded, not because life is easy, but because you are responsive. You don't get stuck in your head. You get into your body. You don't wait for clarity. You create it. That's leadership. That's power. And it's already in you. You just practiced it. Let this become a rule you live by. When anxiety rises, action follows. Not tomorrow. Not after more thinking. Now. Because motion creates clarity. And clarity restores calm. Say it one more time slowly. I act. Again. I act. This is how you reclaim control of your inner state. Not by force. By movement. Not by perfection. By engagement. From this moment forward, anxiety no longer means stop. It means go with intention. You move. You engage. You act. And with every action taken, the noise fades, the fog lifts, and you remember who you are when you're in motion. Strong, present, alive, no pause, no retreat. You act. Chapter 7. Becoming the person who trusts themselves. There is a moment in every transformation where effort becomes identity. Not because everything suddenly feels easy, but because you stop questioning who you are. This is that moment. Up until now, you may have seen yourself as someone who hesitates, someone who thinks deeply, someone who waits until they're sure. That story is ending because you are becoming someone else, someone who follows through. This shift is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It settles in quietly and changes everything. Self-trust is not something you discover one day. It's not hidden inside you, waiting to be unlocked. Self-trust is built, brick by brick, decision by decision, action by action. And once it's built, it holds. And our leadership begins here. Before you lead others, before you influence rooms, before your presence carries weight, you lead yourself. Leadership is keeping promises, especially the ones no one sees. When you say you'll do something, and you do it. When you decide, and you follow through. That's not discipline. That's integrity with yourself. And integrity creates self-trust. Most people want confidence, but confidence is a surface effect. Self-trust is the foundation. Confidence rises when self-trust is solid. Presence becomes calm. Decisions become clean. Without self-trust, everything feels fragile. With it, you are steady. Consistency is the language of self-trust. Not intensity, not motivation. Consistency. Doing what you said you would do. Especially when no one is watching. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's boring. This is where most people fail quietly. They perform when observed. They drift when alone. But you are building something different. You are becoming internally led. Internal leadership means your standards don't disappear in silence. You don't need applause to act. You don't need pressure to perform. You move because you decided to. That is power, and power grows in silence. There is strength in not explaining yourself, in not announcing every move, in not seeking validation for every step. Silence sharpens focus. Secrecy protects momentum. When you talk too much about what you're going to do, you release energy prematurely. You replace execution with explanation. But when you keep your plans quiet, when you let action speak, your energy stays intact. This is how self-trust deepens. You stop outsourcing belief. You don't need permission. You don't need reassurance. You don't need consensus. You know who you are because you've seen yourself follow through. Again, and again, and again. This repetition matters. Every follow-through is a vote for your new identity. I am someone who finishes. I am someone who decides and moves. I am someone who can be relied on. Not by others, by yourself. This is the relationship that matters most. Now let's confront a subtle threat to self-trust. Inconsistency. Not because you fail, but because you abandon your own decisions too quickly. You decide, then doubt creeps in, then you hesitate again. That pattern breaks trust. So here's the rule you live by now. Once you decide, you honor it. You can refine later. You can adjust with feedback, but you don't betray the decision mid-move. That's how trust fractures. Consistency doesn't mean rigidity. It means commitment to the process. You don't quit on yourself emotionally. You stay with the action long enough to learn. That patience builds something powerful. Calm certainty. Now imagine this version of you. You enter a room. You don't rush. You don't scan for approval. You don't over-explain. You're grounded. Imagine people feel your certainty when you enter a room. Not because you dominate, but because you're aligned. Your words are measured. Your presence is calm. Your decisions land cleanly. That certainty is felt, and it comes from one place only: self-trust. You know you'll do what you say, so you don't need to convince anyone. This is the future pacing becoming real. That version of you isn't louder. They're clearer. They don't hesitate mid-sentence. They don't second-guess their posture. They don't retreat from their own choices. They've practiced consistency. Now bring this back to today. Self-trust is built in private moments, when it's tempting to delay, and you act, when it's easy to quit, and you continue, when no one would know, and you still show up. Those moments are sacred. They are shaping your identity, and identity changes behavior automatically. Once you see yourself as someone who follows through, you don't fight hesitation anymore. It doesn't fit who you are. That's when effort decreases, because you're no longer forcing action. You're expressing identity. This is the shift from doing to being. Now here's something important. You don't need to trust yourself in everything. You need to trust yourself in keeping small promises. Big trust is built from small proof. So simplify. Decide what you will do today and do it. Then stop. That's enough. Tomorrow repeat. Consistency compounds faster than intensity ever will. And as it compounds, something subtle happens. Your inner voice changes. It stops questioning. It stops bargaining. It stops negotiating. It starts directing. That's inner leadership. You don't ask, should I? You say, I will. And your body follows. Your mind follows. Your emotions catch up. This is the hierarchy. Leadership over self first, then influence outward. Silence supports this process. You don't need to narrate your growth. You don't need witnesses. Let results speak. Let consistency speak. Let presence speak. This keeps your energy focused forward instead of outward, and focus accelerates identity change. Now pause for a moment. Feel what it's like to trust yourself. Not hypothetically, but practically. Recall a moment you followed through, even when it was uncomfortable. Notice the calm afterward, the quiet pride, the grounded feeling. That's self-trust being reinforced. That's what you're building now, deliberately. Say this internally with weight. I do what I say. Again, I do what I say. That sentence is a contract, and you are honoring it. Over time, hesitation fades, not because it's fought, but because it no longer belongs. You've outgrown it. Now see the long view. Months from now, this consistency has stacked. People experience you differently. They trust your word. They feel your steadiness. But more importantly, you trust yourself. And that changes how you walk, how you speak, how you choose. No rush, no second guessing, just alignment. You are becoming the person who trusts themselves. Not perfectly, not loudly, reliably. And reliability is rare, which makes it powerful. From this point forward, you don't wait to feel confident. You act and confidence follows. You don't chase trust. You build it. Quietly, consistently, unbreakably. And when you enter a room now, people feel it, because certainty is not performed. It is lived, and you are living it now. Chapter 8, Focus is your superpower. Focus is not intensity. It is not force. It is not doing more. Focus is subtraction. And once you understand that, everything simplifies. Overthinking thrives on excess. Too many inputs, too many options, too many voices. Focus removes the noise. That's why it is your superpower. Not because it makes you faster, but because it makes you clear. Clarity is rare, and rarity creates power. Most people live mentally scattered. They are everywhere, which means they are nowhere. Their attention is divided, their energy diluted, their progress slow, not because they lack ability, but because they lack focus. And focus simplifies everything. When focus is present, decisions are easy, action is cleaner, anxiety has less space to grow. because anxiety feeds on chaos. Focus creates order. Let's be honest. Your mind is not tired because you're doing too much. It's tired because it's doing too many things at once. Multiple tabs open, multiple concerns running, multiple futures imagined. That's not intelligence. That's overload. Eliminating mental noise is not about escaping the world. It's about choosing what deserves your attention. Attention is your most valuable resource. Where it goes, your life follows. So if your attention is everywhere, your progress is nowhere. This is why focus must be trained, not forced, not demanded. Trained. Focus is a skill. And like any skill, it improves through practice and boundary. Here's the first boundary you must understand. Not everything deserves your attention. Just because something enters your mind does not mean it earns your focus. Thoughts are suggestions, not commands. Distractions are invitations, not obligations. You decide what stays. This is where discipline without rigidity comes in. Rigid discipline is brittle. It breaks under pressure. Focused discipline is flexible. It adapts without losing direction. You don't need to control everything. You need to control one thing at a time. That's single task dominance, the ability to choose one task and give it your full presence. Not half, not distracted, fully. This is rare now, which makes it lethal in the best way. When you single task, you enter depth. Depth produces quality. Quality produces confidence, and confidence quiets the mind. Overthinking disappears when attention is fully engaged. Because you can't spiral. When you're present, think about it. Have you ever been deeply focused? So absorbed in one task, that time disappeared. No anxiety, no overthinking, just engagement. That state is not accidental. It's focus doing its job. Your mind doesn't need to be silenced. It needs to be aimed. Aim removes noise. Now let's dismantle a common excuse. I can't focus. That's not true. You focus all the time, just not intentionally. You focus on worries, on imagined futures, on distractions. Focus isn't missing. It's misdirected. So the question is not, can you focus? It's WH. Are you aiming it? And that choice changes everything. Here's a rule that will protect you. If it's not actionable right now, it does not deserve your focus. Thinking about problems you cannot act on is mental self-sabotage. It feels productive. It is. Focus belongs on execution, on the step in front of you, not the entire staircase, not the outcome 10 moves ahead. Just this step. This is how leaders stay calm under pressure. They don't hold everything at once. They hold what matters now. Single task dominance. One thing. Fully. That's it. Now let's talk about elimination. Focus strengthens when you remove unnecessary input. Too much information weakens decision-making. You don't need more advice. You need more execution. You don't need constant updates. You need continuity. Every time you interrupt yourself, you reset momentum. Momentum hates interruption. So protect it. This doesn't mean isolation from life. It means intentional engagement. When you're working, work. When you're resting, rest. Blending the two destroys both. This is discipline without rigidity. You're not forcing yourself. You're honoring your energy. Now feel this shift. You're no longer reacting. You're choosing. That choice is powerful because focus simplifies everything. When focus is clear, decisions shrink, tasks feel manageable, anxiety quiets because chaos has been reduced. Now bring this inward. Notice how often your attention jumps. A thought pulls you. A notification interrupts. A worry steals you away. Each jump costs energy. Focus trains you to stay. Stay with the task. Stay with the moment. Stay with the discomfort of completion. Because finishing is where power accumulates. Most people start. Few finish. Finishing builds identity. Finishing says, I am someone who completes. And completion ends mental loops. Unfinished tasks linger. Finished tasks release. This is why finishing is calming. So when distraction appears, you don't fight it emotionally. You redirect. Gently, firmly. Stay here. Say it internally. Stay here. Again. Stay here. That phrase is grounding. It brings your attention back to now. Back to the task. Back to your body. Back to execution. Focus lives in the present. Overthinking lives everywhere else. So you return. Again and again. This is training. Now let's activate this chapter. This is not about understanding focus. It's about embodying it. So we build rhythm. Short commands. Clear direction. Lock in. Say it. Lock in. That means reduce input. Choose one task. Commit. Lock in. Feel the narrowing. The noise fades as attention sharpens. Stay here. Say it. Stay here. You're not behind. You're not rushed. You're present. Finish. Say it. Finish. Not perfectly. Not endlessly. Finish. Completion creates relief. Relief creates confidence. Confidence reinforces focus. This is a loop you want. Now imagine this version of you sit down to work, and you don't check 5 things at once. You choose one. You engage. You finish. Your mind feels quieter, not because life is easy, but because your attention is under command. Imagine how much energy returns when your mind isn't scattered. Imagine how much time appears when you stop switching contexts. Imagine how calm confidence grows when you know you can focus at will. That is a superpower, and it's available to you. Now let's address resistance. Your mind may say, but what if I miss something? That fear comes from scarcity. Focus is not loss. It's investment. What you gain in depth far outweighs what you miss in noise. You don't need to know everything. You need to execute something. That's leadership. Leaders don't know everything. They decide what matters. So decide now. What is the one thing that deserves your attention next? Not 5. 1. Choose it. Lock in. Stay here. Finish. This sequence becomes your anchor whenever overthinking returns. And it will. You don't argue with it. You refocus. Again and again. That's strength. That's discipline without force. Over time, something changes. Your mind stops wandering as much. Your energy stabilizes. Your work improves. Not because you're trying harder, but because you're aiming better. Focus simplifies everything, and simplicity is powerful. Complexity overwhelms. Simplicity moves. Now take a breath. Feel how grounded this feels. This is not rush. This is clarity. You are not doing more. You are doing what matters. That distinction changes your entire experience of life. From this moment forward, you do not chase focus. You choose it. You don't fight distraction. You redirect attention. You don't multitask. You dominate one task at a time. This is not limitation. This is mastery. Say the commands one more time slowly, with intention. Lock in. Stay here. Finish. Again. Lock in. Stay here. Finish. This is how you protect your mind. This is how you reclaim your energy. This is how overthinking loses its grip, because it cannot survive where focus is absolute, and you are learning to make it so. Quietly, consistently, powerfully, focus is your superpower. And now, you are using it. Chapter 9, Pressure Creates Leader. Pressure is not the problem. Avoidance is. Pressure is the weight you feel when something matters, when responsibility is present, when growth is required, and most people spend their lives trying to escape it. They overthink to delay it. They hesitate to soften it. They retreat to avoid feeling exposed. But leaders are not created in comfort. They are forged. Pressure is the forge. Heat does not weaken steel. It reveals it. And you are stronger than you think. Overthinkers avoid pressure because pressure demands decision. Pressure collapses options. Pressure removes the illusion of endless time. And that is terrifying if you don't trust yourself. But if you do, pressure becomes clarifying, because under pressure, what matters becomes obvious. The unnecessary falls away. The noise quiets. The moment demands response. This is where leaders are shaped. Not when everything is calm. Not when outcomes are guaranteed. But when the ground feels unstable, and you choose to stand anyway. Pressure exposes patterns. Some people shrink. Some people freeze. Some people rise. The difference is not talent. It's relationship. Relationship with discomfort. Overthinkers treat discomfort as a threat. Leaders treat it as information. Information that says, you are at the edge of growth. Pressure is the signal that you are being asked to level up. And here is the truth that changes everything. You grow strongest where it feels uncomfortable. Not slightly uncomfortable. Not convenient discomfort. Real discomfort. The kind that tightens your chest. The kind that demands courage. The kind that removes your usual escape routes. That's where strength is built. Think about every version of you that became stronger. It wasn't during ease. It wasn't during certainty. It was when you had to respond. Pressure doesn't create character. It reveals it and refines it. This is why pressure feels personal. Because it's working on you, shaping you, asking something of you. And here's the part you must understand deeply. Pressure is temporary. Growth is permanent. Avoiding pressure trades short-term comfort for long-term weakness. Facing pressure trades short-term discomfort for long-term power. That's the exchange. Overthinking tries to negotiate the exchange away. Leadership accepts it. Now look at your own life. Where have you been avoiding pressure? Or have you delayed because the weight felt heavy? Or have you stayed small to stay comfortable? There is no judgment here, only clarity, because clarity gives you choice. Pressure doesn't ask if you're ready. It asks if you're willing, and willingness changes outcomes. When pressure hits, you have 2 options. You can retreat inward, analyze, delay, explain, or you can step forward, not knowing everything, not controlling the outcome, but choosing to engage. That choice is leadership. Leadership is not a title. It's a response to pressure, Anyone can perform when conditions are perfect. Few can stand steady when they're not. That steadiness is earned. Earned through exposure. Earned through discomfort. Earned through choosing not to collapse under weight. Pressure builds capacity. Each time you stay present under stress, your nervous system learns something important. I can handle this. That learning compounds. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once caused panic becomes familiar, and familiarity breeds calm. This is why experienced leaders look calm under pressure. Not because they don't feel it, but because they've been here before. They've stood here before, and they survived. You are doing that now, even if you don't realize it yet. Pressure is already shaping you. The question is, are you resisting it or allowing it to refine you? Resistance creates friction. Acceptance creates strength. Acceptance doesn't mean liking pressure. It means using it to focus, using it to decide, using it to strip away what doesn't matter. Pressure forces honesty. You can't pretend under pressure. You can't hide. And that's why it's uncomfortable. But it's also why it's powerful. Now let's shift something fundamental. Pressure does not mean you are failing. It means you are being trusted with more. More responsibility, more influence, more growth. Life does not test what it intends to break. It tests what it intends to strengthen. Let that sink in. Pressure is not punishment. It is preparation. Preparation for a version of you that can carry more. Now feel into this moment. You've made it this far. You've stayed present. You haven't collapsed. That matters. You are still standing. And that means something, because every time pressure came before, you stood then too. Maybe shaken, maybe unsure, but still standing. That's proof. Now we enter the second transformation peak. This is where pressure becomes power. Not gently, not slowly, but decisively. Transformation peak 2. Stand tall, breathe deep, feel the weight, and do not retreat. Pressure is here. So are you. You're still standing. Say it internally. I'm still standing. Again, I'm still standing. Pressure didn't break you. It sharpened you. Doubt spoke. You stayed. Fear rose. You stayed. Noise tried to pull you apart. You stayed. You're still standing. Now, no shrinking. No retreat. You do fold. You don't fade. You rise. Pressure increases. You rise. Expectations rise. You rise. The moment demands more. You rise. You don't run from weight. You carry it. You don't avoid heat. You forge in it. You're still standing. Again, you're still standing. Feel that strength. That is not motivation. That is memory. Your body remembers resilience. Your nervous system remembers survival. And now it's learning mastery. Pressure no longer signals danger. It signals engagement. This is how leaders are made. Not in comfort, but in contact. Contact with responsibility. Contact with uncertainty. Contact with weight. And they don't break. They adapt. Now let's integrate this. The next time pressure shows up, deadlines, expectations, decisions that matter, you don't ask, how do I escape this? You ask, how do I stand well here? Standing well means staying present, choosing deliberately, acting with integrity. It means not rushing and not freezing. Pressure rewards presence. It punishes avoidance. So you meet it. Shoulders back, breath steady, mind clear. You don't need to be fearless. You need to be grounded. Grounded people don't collapse under pressure. They root, and roots hold under storms. Now imagine the future version of you again. Pressure arrives. Others panic. Others rush. Others overthink. You pause just enough. Then you act. Not perfectly, but deliberately. People notice. Not because you're loud, but because you're steady. That steadiness is leadership. And it was built here. In moments like this. In pressure you didn't avoid. In weight you chose to carry. Now say the affirmation slowly with strength. I rise. Again, I rise. Not above pressure. Through it. Not after discomfort. Within it, you rise because pressure does not define you. It refines you. And refinement creates leaders. From this moment forward, you stop fearing pressure. You respect it. You use it. You grow inside it. Because the strongest version of you is not found in ease. It is revealed where it feels uncomfortable. And you are there now. Still standing. Still present. Still rising. And that is how leaders are forged. Chapter 10. The Power of Calm Confidence. There is a kind of confidence that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't rush. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't prove. It arrives quietly, and the room adjusts. This is calm confidence, not loud confidence, not performative confidence, not the kind that needs to be seen, the kind that is felt. Calm confidence commands respect because it is grounded, because it is regulated, because it is not trying to be anything other than what it is. This is the confidence you are building now, and it is far more powerful than intensity. Most people misunderstand confidence. They think confidence is energy outward, big gestures, strong opinions, fast responses, but that kind of confidence cracks under pressure. Calm confidence does not, because calm confidence comes from internal stillness, and stillness is strength. Think of the ocean. At the surface, waves crash, noise, movement, reaction, but deep below the surface, the water is still, powerful, unmoved, unrushed. Storms pass above it, and the depth remains calm. That is the metaphor you need to carry. Surface waves versus deep water. Most people live on the surface. They react to everything. They are pulled by emotion. They rise and fall with circumstances. Calm confidence lives in depth. It does not ignore the storm. It simply isn't controlled by it. And this is why calm confidence commands respect. Because people feel safety around it. They feel steadiness. They feel certainty. They feel leadership. Not because you dominate, but because you are regulated. Emotional regulation is the foundation here, not emotional suppression, not pretending you don't feel. Regulation, feeling fully, without being ruled. Calm confidence does not come from having no emotions. It comes from having mastery over them. You feel pressure, and you don't panic. You feel fear, and you don't retreat. You feel uncertainty, and you don't rush to escape it. You stay. Presence under emotion is power. This is quiet dominance, not dominance over people, dominance over self. And self-dominance is the rarest form, because most people are reactive. They respond immediately. They explain too much. They defend too fast. Calm confidence pauses, not because it is unsure, but because it is in control. That pause is not hesitation. It is composure, and composure changes how your words land. When you speak from calm confidence, you don't need many words. You don't repeat yourself. You don't overjustify. Your words are measured, and measured words carry weight. This is the shift from force to authority. Force pushes, authority pulls. Force tries to convince, authority expects alignment. Calm confidence is authority embodied, and authority comes from internal alignment. Your thoughts are not racing. Your emotions are not spilling. Your body is steady. That alignment is felt before you say anything. People trust calm confidence instinctively because calm signals competence. When someone is calm under pressure, we assume they know what they're doing, even if they don't say it. That's why leaders who remain calm become anchors in chaos. Now let's clarify something important. Calm confidence is not slowness. It is not passivity. It is not indecision. It is unhurried decisiveness. You act, but you don't rush. You decide, but you don't scramble. You move, but you don't flail. This is what makes calm confidence powerful. It communicates. I have time. I am not overwhelmed. I am not threatened. And that message alone creates influence. Now look back at the journey you've taken so far. You've learned to stop overthinking. You've learned to act under anxiety. You've learned to trust yourself. You've learned to focus. You've learned to stand under pressure. All of that leads here. Calm confidence is not something you add. It is something that emerges when inner chaos is removed. When the noise fades, stillness appears. And stillness is not empty. It is full of awareness. Internal stillness does not mean nothing is happening inside you. It means nothing is pulling you apart. Your attention is centered. Your breath is steady. Your posture is grounded. This is why calm confidence is felt physically. In the way you stand, in the way you move, in the way you pause. Your body communicates before your mouth does, and a regulated body communicates safety and authority. Now let's go deeper. Calm confidence changes your relationship with urgency. You stop confusing urgency with importance. Overthinkers rush because they feel behind. Calm leaders move because it's time. That difference matters. When you feel behind, you react. When you feel grounded, you choose. Calm confidence removes the feeling of being chased by life. You are no longer sprinting mentally. You are walking deliberately. And deliberate movement is intimidating in the best possible way because it signals control. This is why calm confidence does not need to compete. It does not need to dominate the room. It allows the room to come to it. Quiet dominance, not through volume, through presence. Now consider this. When someone speaks quickly, loudly, urgently, you sense insecurity. When someone speaks slowly, clearly, calmly, you sense authority. The same words land differently, depending on the state they come from. Calm confidence sharpens everything you say and do. Now let's address a fear that may come up. You might think, if I'm calm, will I lose my edge? No, calm confidence is not dull. It is precise. It is a blade, not a hammer. It cuts cleanly. It wastes no energy. You don't lose intensity. You contain it. Contained intensity is far more powerful than scattered force. This is the difference between panic energy and grounded power. Now imagine this version of you again. You walk into a situation that used to trigger you. Deadlines, conflict, expectation. Your body stays steady. Your breath stays deep. Your mind stays clear. You listen fully. You speak when needed. You act decisively. No rush. No explanation spiral. No emotional leakage. That is calm confidence in motion. And people feel it. They lean in. They listen. They adjust. Because calm confidence resets the emotional tone of a space. This is leadership without noise. Now let's connect this back to emotional regulation. Regulation begins with awareness. You notice emotion without becoming it. You feel pressure without letting it dictate behavior. You allow sensation without surrendering control. This is not suppression. This is mastery. You don't push emotions away. You let them pass through you. Like waves over deep water. Surface waves rise and crash. Deep water remains steady. You are learning to live in the depth. The storm can be loud, and you remain calm. That calm is not apathy. It is presence. Presence is what commands respect. Because presence cannot be faked. People can sense when someone is centered, when someone is not chasing approval, when someone is not threatened by disagreement. Calm confidence does not argue unnecessarily. It does not explain excessively. It does not react emotionally. It responds strategically, and strategic response is the mark of leadership. Now pause for a moment. Feel your body. Relax your shoulders. Slow your breath. Ground your feet. Notice how your mind responds. Slowing the body slows the mind. This is regulation in real time. Calm is not a personality. It is a practice. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, calm confidence becomes your baseline. Not because life is calm, but because you are regulated. Now let's address quiet dominance directly. Quiet dominance is not intimidation. It is certainty. You don't need to assert power. You embody it. You don't need to control others. You control yourself. That control creates gravity. People orient toward gravity. This is why quiet people with calm confidence often have the most influence. They are not scattered. They are not reactive. They are not needy. They are centered. And centered people are trusted. Now imagine again. You enter a room. You are not scanning for reactions. You are not adjusting yourself to fit. You take your place. Your movements are unhurried. Your posture is open. Your gaze is steady. You don't speak first. You speak when it matters. When you do speak, the room listens, not because you demand it, but because your presence invites it. That is calm confidence commanding respect. Now let's anchor the core lesson. Calm confidence commands respect because it signals three things simultaneously: self-trust, emotional regulation, clarity of intent. When those are present, respect follows naturally. You cannot demand respect. You cannot force it. You earn it through alignment, and alignment is internal first. This is why this chapter matters so much, because as you step into greater responsibility, greater visibility, greater leadership, your calm will matter more than your words. Your regulation will matter more than your ideas. Your presence will matter more than your speed. Now here is the final shift. Calm confidence does not mean you never feel urgency. It means urgency does not control you. It means you can move quickly without becoming frantic. It means you can act decisively without emotional chaos. It means you can lead without noise. This is mastery, and mastery is quiet. Now sit with this. You are no longer proving yourself. You are no longer rushing to be seen. You are becoming grounded. Deep water, storms pass, waves crash. You remain still, present, powerful. From this moment forward, you don't chase confidence. You regulate yourself, and confidence emerges. You don't try to dominate. You embody calm, and respect follows. You don't rush. You don't hesitate. You move with composure. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. This is not passivity. This is authority. And this is the confidence that lasts. Quiet, unshakable, commanding. You are no longer living on the surface. You are grounded in depth. And from here, everything you do carries weight. Chapter 11. You are no longer the same person. There is a moment in every real transformation where something closes behind you. Not loudly, not ceremonially, quietly. A door shuts, and you don't go back. Not because you call, but because you no longer belong to who you are. This is that moment. You are no longer the same person. Not because life changed, but because you did. The old patterns had one thing in common. They kept you thinking instead of leading, waiting instead of choosing, analyzing instead of acting. And those patterns felt familiar, comfortable even. But familiarity is not destiny. Your past patterns do not define you. They described who you were, not who you are becoming. Identity is not fixed. It is practiced. And you have been practicing something new. Decisiveness, presence, leadership. That practice has consequences. You can feel them now. The hesitation doesn't grip the same way. The noise doesn't dominate like it used to. The pull to overanalyze feels weaker because you've changed how you respond. And response shapes identity. Let's be clear about something important. Transformation is not a feeling. It is a shift in default behavior, what you do automatically. When pressure shows up, and your automatic response is changing, where you once paused and spiraled, you now pause and choose. Where you once waited for certainty, you now create momentum. Where you once doubted yourself, you now trust your next step. That's not accidental. That is identity rewiring. And identity does not negotiate with old habits. It replaces them. Now listen closely. Your old self lived in potential. Your new self lives in execution. Your old self waited to feel ready. Your new self decides and moves. Your old self asked, what if? Your new self asks, what's next? That difference changes everything. You are no longer managed by thought patterns. You are directed by intention. This is leadership. Not over others yet. Over yourself. And self-leadership is the hardest kind, because there is no audience, no applause, no external pressure to keep going. Just choice. And you are choosing differently now. That means something profound. It means you are no longer at the mercy of your past. Patterns only persist when they are repeated, and you have stopped repeating them. Think about that. Your past habits do not follow you forward automatically. They require participation, and you have withdrawn yours. This is not denial. This is decision. You didn't erase the past. You outgrew it. Now comes the locking in phase. This is where repetition becomes identity, where intention becomes instinct, where leadership stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like alignment. This is where we reinforce, not gently, deliberately, because identity responds to repetition and intensity. So we repeat, we declare, we anchor. You are no longer the same person. Say that internally. I am no longer the same person. Again, I am no longer the same person. Feel the weight of that. Not arrogance, not ego, truth. Now let's talk about leadership, the kind you're stepping into. Leadership is not control over others. It is clarity of direction. People follow those who move with certainty, not loud certainty, grounded certainty. And that certainty comes from one thing only: decision. You decide. And when you decide, things align. Your posture, your voice, your energy. Decision collapses doubt. Doubt thrives in ambiguity. Decision ends ambiguity. That's why decisive people feel powerful, not because they're perfect, but because they are clear. And clarity creates gravity. People feel it. Life responds to it. You are becoming someone whose decisions stick, not because you're stubborn, but because you're aligned. Aligned with values, aligned with direction, aligned with action. This alignment removes internal conflict. And internal conflict is what used to exhaust you. Now your energy goes forward, not in circles. This is the difference between motion and movement. Motion spins, movement advances. You are moving. Now let's address the old voice, the one that says, this is just temporary. You'll slip back. You always do. That voice is not truth. It's memory, memory of who you were. But memory does not predict the future. When behavior has changed, and your behavior has changed, you are not hoping anymore. You are practicing, and practice rewires identity. This is not motivation. This is conditioning. You have conditioned yourself to act, and that means the old identity no longer fits. You can't wear it comfortably. Overthinking now feels unnatural. Delay feels irritating. Stalling feels wrong. That's the sign. That's transformation locking in, because what once felt normal now feels misaligned, and what once felt uncomfortable now feels right. This is where leadership stabilizes. You don't need to hype yourself up. You don't need reminders every hour. You just act quietly, consistently, and consistency is what seals identity. Now we enter the third transformation piece. This is not reflection. This is declaration. Not to the world, to yourself, because identity responds to what you say, with conviction and repetition. So we build intensity now, line by line. You are no longer the same person. Say it again. You are no longer the same person. The hesitation you lived in gone. The loops you repeated broken. The waiting you accepted finished. You decide. Say it. I decide. Again, I decide. Decision is no longer something you avoid. It is something you do. You lead. Say it. I lead. Again, I lead. Not later. Not when someone gives you permission. Now, you lead your actions. You lead your focus. You lead your responses. You become. Say it. I become. Again, I become. You become the person who moves. The person who follows through. The person who stands steady under pressure. You decide. You lead. You become. Again, you decide. You lead. You become. Let it build. You decide when others hesitate. You lead when others wait. You become what pressure reveals. You decide. You lead. You become. This is not affirmation. This is alignment. This is not pretending. This is remembering who you are now. Feel that shift. That is not excitement. That is certainty. Certainty does not shout. It settles. Now we integrate. Identity is not proven in big moments alone. It is proven in small, repeated behaviors. So let's ground this identity into your daily life. When a decision appears, you don't debate endlessly. You decide. When discomfort appears, you don't retreat. You lead yourself through it. When uncertainty appears, you don't freeze. Why? Oh, become responsive. This is how the identity stays alive. Not through inspiration, but through execution. You no longer ask, am I capable? You ask, what's the move? And that question keeps you forward-facing. Now let's talk about permanence. Nothing in life is static, but identities can be stable. Stable because they are reinforced. And you are reinforcing this one daily. Every time you act instead of overthink. Every time you choose instead of wait. Every time you finish instead of abandon. Those moments matter more than you realize. They are proof. And proof is what the mind respects. You don't need to convince yourself anymore. Your actions are convincing you. Now imagine your future from this identity. You wake up, and you don't negotiate with yourself. You decide what matters, and you act. You encounter pressure, and you stay grounded. You face uncertainty, and you respond. This is not dramatic. It is effective, and effectiveness changes outcomes. People experience you differently. They feel your clarity. They trust your word. They rely on your follow-through, not because you told them who you are, but because you showed them. And more importantly, you trust yourself. That trust is the real reward, because when you trust yourself, life feels manageable, even when it's hard, even when it's uncertain, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. You know you will respond well, and that knowledge is freedom. Now pause, feel your breath, notice your body. This is what alignment feels like. Not hype, not tension, grounded certainty. From here on, you don't fight overthinking. It no longer defines you. You don't argue with doubt. It no longer leads you. You don't wait to feel ready. Readiness is a decision you make. Your past patterns are complete. They taught you what they needed to teach, and now you move forward without them. This is not forgetting the past. This is graduating from it. You carry the lessons, not the limitations. You carry awareness, not hesitation. You carry leadership, not fear. Now seal this chapter with intention. Say the affirmations one final time slowly with presence. I decide. I lead. I become. Again. I decide. I lead. I become. This is not who you want to be. This is who you are now. And from this point forward, every action reinforces it. You are no longer the same person. You have crossed the line, and you do not step back. You move forward, clear, decisive, grounded. This identity is locked, and it carries you into what comes next. Chapter 12, Choose Action, Choose Greatness. This is where everything comes together, not as an ending, but as a beginning. You now walk into differently. You didn't come this far to understand something. You came this far to become something. And who you become from here on is decided one action at a time. This chapter is not about intensity. It's about integration, because greatness is not a moment. It is a pattern, and patterns are chosen daily. So let's make this clear, calmly, firmly, without hesitation. Greatness is chosen daily through action, not through thinking, not through intention alone, through action. Small, consistent, deliberate. That is how legacies are built. You don't rise into greatness suddenly. You step into it repeatedly, and every step counts. Now pause. Take a breath. Feel where you are now compared to where you started. The noise is quieter, the hesitation weaker, the clarity stronger. You didn't eliminate challenge. You eliminated confusion, and confusion was the real enemy. Now you move forward with alignment. This is the shift. You are no longer trying to fix yourself. You are leading yourself, and leadership requires vision, not fantasy. Vision is not about predicting the future. It's about deciding the direction. So let's talk about the long-term view. Greatness is not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things over time. It's about becoming someone whose actions compound, day by day, decision by decision. Imagine yourself 1 year from now, not wildly different, but deeply grounded. You act faster. You hesitate less. You recover quicker. You don't spiral when things go wrong. You adjust. You don't wait for permission. You move. That version of you is not perfect, but they are effective, and effectiveness changes outcomes. Now imagine 5 years from now. Your reputation is clear. People know what to expect from you. Consistency, follow through, presence. You don't need to convince anyone. Your actions speak. That's legacy beginning to form. Legacy is not fame. It's reliability over time. It's impact that outlives moments. And legacy is built quietly, through habits, through standards, through daily choices no one applauds. This is where mindset matters. You are no longer chasing motivation. You are building structure. Structure removes dependence on mood. You don't act because you feel inspired. You act because it's who you are. That's freedom. Now let's make this PR. Practical. You don't need more rules. You need a ritual, a daily decision ritual, something simple, repeatable, grounding. Every day, you return to the same question. What action moves me forward today? Not 5 actions. 1. And then, when will I do it? You decide. You act. That's the ritual. No drama, no negotiation. This ritual anchors you in action. When the mind tries to wander, it keeps you aligned when motivation fades. And motivation will fade, but ritual remains. This is how greatness becomes inevitable, because inevitability is built, not hoped for. Now let's bring the emotional rhythm in. This is the command phase. Listen closely. Choose action. Not tomorrow, not after more thought. Today. Choose action when it's uncomfortable. Choose action when it's unclear. Choose action when it's inconvenient, because action is the vote you cast for the person you are becoming. Choose greatness, not as a title, as a standard. Greatness is not perfection. It is refusal to drift. Say it internally. Choose action. Again, choose action. Now relief. Feel the pressure lift, because you don't have to figure everything out anymore. You don't have to solve your entire future. You only have to choose today well. That simplifies everything. Relief comes when responsibility is clear, and your responsibility is simple. Show up, decide, act. That's it. You don't carry the weight of outcomes. You carry the weight of effort, and effort is within your control. That's freeing. Now empowerment. This is where you step forward fully. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be, to act differently than before. And that difference compounds. From this point forward, you live by a few truths. You don't wait for clarity. You create it. You don't wait for confidence. You build it. You don't wait for greatness. You choose it. Every day. Now imagine waking up tomorrow. The world hasn't changed. The demands are still there. But you are different. You don't negotiate with hesitation. You don't indulge endless thinking. You choose. You act. And then you move on. That is calm power. That is leadership lived daily. Now imagine years of that behavior. Not heroic moments. Consistent ones. That's how lives change. That's how impact spreads. That's how greatness becomes ordinary. Now let's address the final resistance. The voice that says, "What if I slip?" You will. And it won't matter. Because greatness is not about never slipping. It's about returning to action faster each time. You don't punish yourself. You recalibrate. You don't quit. You continue. That resilience is what lasts. You are no longer fragile. You are responsive. And responsive people always move forward. Now stand here mentally. Feel grounded. This is not the end of a journey. It's the beginning of a way of living. You don't need to remember every word of this audio. You only need to remember one rule. When in doubt, act. Action clarifies. Action strengthens. Action compounds. And compounded action becomes greatness. Now say this with intention. I choose action. Again, I choose action. And now this. I choose greatness. Again, I choose greatness. Not because it's easy, but because it's yours to choose. Every day you wake up, the choice is waiting. Action or delay. Movement or stagnation. Leadership or drift. And you already know what you choose. Because you have changed. You have trained yourself. You have built trust. You have learned to stand under pressure. To focus. To act. To lead. This chapter doesn't push you forward. It releases you forward. With clarity. With confidence. With direction. From here on, you live by action. And action shapes your future. Quietly. Powerfully. Relentlessly. You don't wait anymore. You choose. You move. You build. You become. Choose action. Choose greatness. And live it. One decisive day at a time. You've come to the end of this journey. And to the beginning of something permanent. Not a burst of motivation. Not a temporary shift. A transformation. You started here tangled in thought. Heavy with hesitation. Carrying noise that slowed your steps. And now, you stand different. You learn to see overthinking for what it was. Not intelligence but delay. Not safety but stagnation. You learn to act through anxiety. To stand under pressure. To focus, decide, and follow through. You didn't remove fear. You removed its authority. You didn't wait to feel ready. You chose readiness. And that choice changed your identity. You are no longer someone who circles decisions. You are someone who moves. You are no longer managed by doubt. You lead yourself forward. This is the victory. Quiet, grounded, real. Now comes the most important part, application. Not tomorrow, not someday. Today, take this mindset into real life. When hesitation appears, decide. When pressure rises, stand. When fear speaks, act anyway. Do not wait for the perfect moment. The moment becomes perfect through movement. Remember this. Greatness is not proven in dramatic moments. It is proven in ordinary days handled decisively. One choice, one action, one follow-through, repeated. From this point forward, you don't search for direction. You create it. You don't ask who you might become. You decide. And here is the truth that seals everything. You no longer overthink your life. You lead it. Say the affirmations now. Let them land. Let them stay. I am ready. Again, I am ready. I rise. Feel it. I decide who I become. This is not the end. This is the standard you live by now. And every day you act from here. You confirm it. You are ready. You rise. You decide. Now go and live it. More. You rise. I rise. You made it to the end. That already says something about you. Most people stop early. You stayed. If this audiobook challenged you, if it sharpened your focus, if it reminded you of who you're becoming, then don't let this be a one-time moment. This channel exists for people who choose growth, discipline over comfort, clarity over noise, progress over excuses. If you want more audiobooks like this, more mindset training, more leadership, more inner strength, subscribe, like this video so it reaches the people who need it, and share it with someone who's ready to rise but hasn't found the words yet. Stay consistent, protect your mind, and keep moving forward. This is only the beginning.